You and me and Duke Nukem too. Come on, gang, let's get the guns. We're doing the things that badasses do. This is Gang Will Plays Duke. Roman numeral 2 Nukem. I'll be your host for this evening. I've got a massive heartburn. Oh well. Guess I feel like a nuclear radioactive thing inside me. None of that here. Okay, so after the shenanigans of the last level, like, it looks like I'm still back in the green cave, but no, it's a transition to a slightly different kind of level. I would say slightly, but it really feels the same. I think the big thing is the music's different, so it feels more upbeat. Okay. Drones! Or whatever the fuck you call them. I was gonna mention, with the humans here, or it looks like humans, you know you have that and those, like, Terminator bots, right? So why are there human-like things on planet Rigel that aren't like other kidnapped humans? As far as we know. Chances are they did kidnap other humans. That much could be said, except they waited for Duke Nukem, or whatever, when they got his attention when he was on TV. But I'm thinking maybe it was leftover gameplay ideas from Duke Nukem 1, or what they were going to make Duke Nukem 2 into with more Dr. Proton stuff, with like that and cyborgs and whatnot. Anytime I think of robots, I think that's what we're doing, but yeah, no. It's not out of the question for aliens to have robots, but it does seem out of the question for the alien, or the fucking Terminator boss. That seems kind of suspicious. If anything, you'd be like what the Regelatons themselves look like, but more metallic-ish, so they'd be like, I guess more like Dalek-like? That's what I was thinking. So what that hint means is, the drone generator is not, it's not because you have to destroy it, it's because it's hiding, there's a computer card right behind it. And that cement mixer has unloaded one of those BMOSes. This is horribad, because I hate when it bounces around like that. Luckily, I noticed it only seems to bounce once at a time, as opposed to that spasa meatball. Oh, did I say the hint too early? That happens. I saw so much text on screen, I knew it was about to happen, but yeah. The important thing is I'm actually getting all the hint things. That's part of my stringent requirement. I mentioned the getting the Nukem letters. I forgot to mention that I was also getting all the checkpoints, in which there's usually only one at a time, as far as I know. And getting the hint spheres back to their rightful pedestal thing. I honestly don't know why it looks like a metronome. Ouch, and so much pain! Oh yeah, you like how when you get hit 8 times, you still technically get hit once more, so really your health bar is 9 hits. Get that nuclear radioactive stuff out of my hands, in my gun hands. Fuck am I, dude? Oh, that's a blow-up device. Well then, let me tell you about how I escaped my escape-a-town. Actually, yeah, why are we still using the Duke escaped computers? We know he escaped last episode, that was the theme. So now it's just, I'm escaping forever? That's the game? Oh well, at least we don't have to mention NPCs to worry about, I suppose. It's weird how gaming terms get used in nomenclature to mean things that don't make sense. But that happens. Like, here's a good example. When you say you're going for the high score, which means you're trying really hard when there's no actual points. That's the earliest example of something like that. Oh, I was thinking whenever I shoot those laser guns, how I always get 1 point. If someone were trying to go for a high score, like if you set the achievement to get the maximum score, all they'd have to do is sit there all day shooting that thing until they got it. There's a term for that I heard on my website I used to visit called Retro Uprising. They call that, well, they just call it, instead of high score, it's a high farm. Because you're farming for points. That's essentially what it is. And honestly, I understand, because there's no real skill, it's just a bunch of tedium. It's basically work for what? To say you can do it? It reminds me of someone, that story about someone who played I forget which Final Fantasy game, 7, 8, or 9. Yeah, 7, 8, 9, or 10 even. One of those. And the whole thing is how they try to do it, try to level up in like the first area to maximum to see if it was possible. And technically it is if you play for the longest ass time, but someone ended up doing it just because someone else didn't want to finish, just to prove a point. But who really won that day? Probably thought to himself, the guy who gave up probably thought to himself it was actually a waste of time. And understood the value of life. Even in a video game, if it's taking too long to do something, maybe you need a different game. That's okay for turn-based games, though. Mostly because much of the game is happening in your brain. So as long as your brain is thinking of something, and not like vacant, then it's okay. And let me tell you, no vacancies, please. I'm quite preoccupied as it is. Is anyone ever post-occupied? Is that what laziness is? It's not the act of not doing something, it's the act of wanting to stop things after you've done something. Post-occupation. It's when you take breaks. We can make it a more technical term for that sort of thing, so breaks doesn't have to be a vague thing to say. There will be a teleporter that takes me right to the exit, but I'm going to have to look around for the E first. So keep in mind that I need 1 million troops. No, wait, no, what do you think he was thinking? Wait, did they... I don't remember. Did we have E3 again this year? I don't actually remember. Or if we just had a bunch of directs. Speaking of... that kind of thing means, you know, like Nintendo Directs and I guess Sony Directs now, whatever else. You don't have to really do them once a year. You can just kind of make a presentation about what you're working on, whatever you want. Really. I mean, even anyone on YouTube could do that. I don't see why not. I think having update videos like that for projects you're working on is cool, because it's basically... Nintendo Direct is basically a Nintendo vlog. In my view, just way more official. I guess the closest thing to the vlog was when they do the treehouse things, which I don't really care for. But that's just because... why is that because? Oh, I think it's because they're trying to do it while on games that aren't out yet. I don't necessarily want that. But for a few minutes of gameplay demonstration, yeah. Then I'll tune off, because I know what I might expect now. Instead of just watching the whole thing happen before it's even out. Which I have done for some stuff. Alright. Those of you at home, and not directly in front of me. Those of you at home behind this screen, raise your hand if there's a game you wanted to play, realized you couldn't for whatever reason. Not because of, like, technical reasons, like, or you couldn't pay for it, but because you couldn't just get into it, and it's just really not your kind of game, or you gave it a try and you decided no, even though you liked the idea of it, so you decided to watch someone else do it. I'm hoping in most of the cases for me, it's you have never seen this before, which might be likely, at least with this. Maybe not with the Mario ones, but with, like, ROM hacks and stuff. You never thought that they could exist and you watch it, but, you know, you're not inspired to try it yourself. You're inspired to watch someone else do it because you don't really want to try. Right? I understand. I just don't relate. I mean, I do relate. It depends, though. Like, if something has a big story, then yeah. Because then that's basically a movie. That's fine. I was thinking, you know, people with that mindset, and I'm like, I hope they're not always passive and are actually doing stuff. Like, if someone's, like, Netflixing and chilling, I hope there's other parts of their life. You can have hobbies that involve a little more activity than that, I feel. Even if it's not necessarily physical activity. Just something, man. Something! E. Remember, Duke Nukem without DNM is Ookie Ookie, so I guess he's a monkey, but wait, so are humans. To Nuke Nuke. That's how I say it in Brazil. Como estas? Oh my god, they're just buff Portuguese or Spanish, never fucking mind. Yeah, I'm a real hoot in foreign language town. I'm more inclined to read foreign language than ever speak it. Sorry. It's like, give me enough time and I'll understand what you're saying. Since I already applied it to my own language, I just figure I apply it to anything else now, too. Including hieroglyphics. Which just reminds me of how emojis are modern-day hieroglyphics. So really, we're just reenacting Egypt. This is not a bad thing. They did have a thing for cats, after all. Some things really never do change. At least the tech did. Because otherwise, I don't think we'd appreciate if computers and the internet didn't exist. Even not being used the best way. Yeah, I was going to say something about YouTube here. I decided to decline. Because we can save that talk for behind the back room. Alright, this is kind of a sewer place. Sorry I don't have much to say, but there was that cement mixer earlier in the previous level, and, you know, those green flying... We got these green flying squid things, too. Should have mentioned those. But other than that, you're just going to get more of the same. Again, not bad. Not bad. But it seems like the games I'm most fond of, or don't mind doing, are ones who are just like, sit back, form a path from point A to point B, and more points, and get rolling. Like, somehow I've treated an action game as a puzzle game, and that's how I approach most games. I guess action games that aren't puzzle games would be more arcadey in nature, you know? It certainly applies to computer games. So, you know, not Tetris, but the other way, in which there's puzzle elements to the action, not action elements to the puzzle, which is what Tetris is. Kind of like what they do in Paper Mario with platforming RPGs. So it's a platforming RPG, unlike Super Paper Mario, which is an RPG platformer. So when you have genre combinations that can hurt, that's what I mean. There's actually one other game like that, Super Paper Mario. What was it? Mega Man Network Transmission? That's like the only other game like that I know about that I also like. Which I suppose I should do someday. I think if I'm going to do GameCube stuff, I'm going to have to get my, there's a backup Wii that survived a fire. And since, you know, it still has life, I decided to use it to soft mod it so I can run more GameCube stuff on it and stuff and things. It also works better with, like, oddly enough, because of the fact there was the Wii Shop with the N64 games, it actually works as a decent fucking N64 emulator. Which is weird, if you consider what's going on with the N64 stuff on Switch now. Like, if there's one thing I want to talk about, I could talk about dislike buttons removed. Sure. It's not going to affect me. I don't need to do it. I could say I have an opinion on it, but it doesn't really matter to me. But the whole Nintendo thing, with the N64 emulation being trash, I think that needs to be criticized. You could say whatever you want about them wanting more money out of it, but their whole emulation thing for N64 is complete crap. No, really. I don't even think... The only people who it's fooling are someone who's never played N64 in their lives. Which I think is the problem. Emulators are supposed to be like the thing. They're not supposed to be what you think it is, like 20 years after the fact. But I feel like that might be just the case of Nintendo is such a big company, there's different people working on it that don't really understand what they need to be doing. Because somehow we as fans have figured out how to know more about Nintendo's products than Nintendo themselves. Somehow. Anyway, yeah. Yeah, I could say something about the subscription cost too much. My opinion on that is I would suggest you sit on it and wait for more offerings. Because I don't think they're done there. They just want to see if you can do it right away. I'm like, nah. But it's fine. Also the Genesis stuff, which would also be redundant, but that's cool. It's not hard to emulate Genesis. Genesis does what Nintendo's now. Pretty much everything. You know what that means, though? Yet another way to play Sonic the Hedgehog. You know how many times Sega re-releases Sonic the Hedgehog on pretty much everything and every platform? So it's like re-release as a Genesis classic, re-release as Sonic Mega Collection, re-release on Steam, re-release on your phone, re-release, like... It thinks it can give Doom a run for its money, haha, but really no. Really, if you bought Sonic once, you don't need to buy it again. I'm sure I've been guilty of that, at least once, but that's because I want to see how well it played on the PC, because I had the, I actually tried out the Sonic 3 Knuckles collection thing. Or wait, no, no, that's right, I had the Sonic 1/2 PC release. Those exist. I've forgotten about them. They exist. I think LGR talks about it. Speaking of LGR, I do follow stuff. There was something about his one I mentioned, and now I've forgotten it. But he does do retro computing stuff, which helps. Oh right, there's something I use for as useful for some references, but like now he's more just the game channel. I just wanted to point out that the way I changed my stuff doesn't mean I dislike you. Okay? Like, you should have known this change was coming. And I just wanted to remark how I didn't know when his stuff really changed. Whether it was gradual over time. Because he's really more of a retro compute channel, which is perfectly fucking hunky-dory. I love hearing about it. I just thought I followed him originally for DOS games. And many people are filling that void now, including me. So, really, I could use that as an inspiration. Anytime you see something you don't like, I would suggest trying it yourself. Anyone who thinks they can play this game better than me, do it. Go ahead and try it. In fact, I invite all commenters, if they think they can do better, that they really actually should just do it. Instead of telling me about it. You definitely don't need to... I think I've gotten comments trying to backseat me, like, several years of gameplay from several years ago, as if, A, I hadn't learned anything from that. Trust me, I did. Or B, that I could tell you what my brain was thinking at the time. I guarantee you I can't. I could only, base it on, like, deduction about how I know I think or remember I think and how the game works. So, don't try to talk to my past self in real time. That's not how that works. Yeah, I'm talking a lot of nonsense because this is a very backtracky level, and that's just because if you platform and you fall down, you pretty much have to take time to go back up again. This can happen a few times. That is a thing. That's something this does that Mario doesn't, because Mario's more linear. It's funny, you could say this game is non-linear, like a Metroidvania is non-linear, but you haven't experienced non-linearity until you've done a fucking sandbox game, then it's non-linear to the extreme. Right? Here's what I want, though. Instead of linear, non-linear, we have non-Euclidean. By the way, there are some games that do that. Hint, hint. Gaming Wolf can see through non-Euclidean space, but can he see the taste of Cinnamon Toast Crunch? Yes, I'm available for all sponsorships. Oh, hey, yeah, so I was thinking, guys, like, if I do streams, like, I have to think about the emoji thing and the whole copyright stuff. One, because I can't just, I don't know if I just want to pull game out and just be like, haha, they're meme emojis now. Or if, like, ask some people to do it, but then I have to worry about the licensing. Not that I should be paying for it, I just mean, like, if other people are paying the subscription model thing just to use emojis, which, by the way, I think is kind of lame. I don't really ever need to do that. But it's good for people who are just donating. And that's fine. Don't pay expecting emojis. Okay? That just comes with the package deal. Because you don't actually need them. If you do need them, just use the standard ones. Okay? Or like, what do they use on Twitch? Like Frank or Facey and some other one that I'm forgetting. Slimes. I am slime. Yeah, the slimes are made, it seems to me, out of the same junk as the plant things. And those green flying goblin things. And there's one other critter I realize is going to come up, which does that too. And it's also green. I need to go back and look up what the names for these things are. Like, does anyone ever go to a random ass game that has no information on it and find out there's a wiki on it that has names for all the fucking critters somehow magically when there was no indication of what those names ever were, even in the manual? This must have happened once, or it's one of those things that is plausible in my imagination but has never happened and never will. Thank God. Wow, I grabbed the rope and I really need to stop vlogging right now. That fucking hurts, dude. Yeah, let me tone down the vlogging a little bit for now. Because, you know, if all I do is vlog, then it's like, what are you gonna talk about the stupid shit happening in your game?
You don't sound very excited or enthusiastic with yourself, Gaming Ruth. Are you sure you're not a terrible YouTuber? You know, take up votes.
That's the downvote goblins. Or related to the downvote fairies, yes. No, No, for real. I just do that because I catch myself talking about nonsense. Or I catch myself talking about what is on screen, but it's instead observational humor. And I think to myself, let me switch gears, talk about something else, because I've been through this stuff. Like, some are more... I thought I was stream of conscious. I am. What I'm realizing is that after doing that for so long, like, to myself, without ever recording it, that I've already, like, pre-planned things I'm going to say ahead of time somehow. And it's not because I mean to. It's because what's happening is I have a memory of sentences that I'm using. I'm not actually coming up with stuff. Like, sometimes I'm coming up with stuff on the spot. But it's coming from memory. And then I'm just like... It's coming from memory in a very distilled form. Then I'm taking the time to apply the words. That's what's coming on the spot. That's why when you see me stumble upon saying something, it'll be like, what am I trying to say? I'm trying to say this thing. It's like, blah, 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 blah. Which is what happens when you force me to talk. And I can't say it. So it's like, yep, yep. Or I start talking like that one character in Soul Calibur 2 that was like, the Todd McFarlane character is like, except I think he was just speaking backwards. Soul Calibur 2, ladies and gentlemen. And then I'm gonna shoot... Yeah, don't you love my strategy of just waiting up there and shooting downwards without ever having to approach those spider bot assholes? You know, speaking of the spider bots, I decided there are physical representations of those AKA spiders from, like, search engines that pick apart all around the web. So if they log onto your form, that's a spider. It just wants your data, man. It wants to suck it all up. This gross green plant vase thinks it's so clever, extending and protruding as if to say, I'ma eat your head. It's trying to do what Victory Bell did to James every single fucking time you're under it. It's terrible. Yes. If I just stay here and shoot, eventually it'll die. You know, radar... I keep thinking I'd use that radar more, but it's really sucking for me to do. Really, if I want to complain anything about this game, it is the lack of sight. As things are happening off-screen. And I have to be ready for that. Alright. Gonna open that up. After I get like a million bajillion points. Get rid of the 2 security cameras. go up here really quick because there's some stuff, including what I believe is a hextuplet. Yes, hextuplet. Is that right? Quintuplet and then hextuplet, yes? So a hextuplet of soda. Come to think, I don't know if I mentioned this before, but you know, it goes heretic, then hex, and then whatever they're going to call hexen 2 is actually going to be hecatomb at first. And I thought that'd be a really cool idea. So, guys, if you want to make a hex and heretic spin-off, call it hecatomb. I'm sure someone will pick it up.
I've got my jeans.
Oh dear, next time it's the music that's apparently associated with earthquakes. Except, no. It's this music again, but now it's on a level with an earthquake, I guess. Yeah, I don't know what that little Uniracer bastard's doing, but I'm gonna kick his butt in the butt face! Anyway, next time, Earthquake Part 2!